Right, so hopefully this should be the last bit of testing we need to do for Dimension 1, and then I can go ahead and jump back into full runs of the game. So we are on a semi-complete file here, and all I've done is I've farmed up everything we need to test out gold farming. So we've got 6 gold shields all the way to level 4, and then 6 lucky clovers. So this is the maximum amount of gold find you can technically get here on Dimension 1. Well, 12 clovers depending on which units you run, so the Blade Master or Dark Mage, anyone who has the 2 accessory slots. And essentially, previously I thought the best method of running was to go from, say, 40 to about 100, and that was the quickest you could clear floors because it does then start taking an extra cast past 100. No, I was wrong. So it occurred to me when another soda enthusiast, Sub-Zero, pointed out that his methodology for farming in the high end of the warrior dimension is to always do as high as possible. That is probably the better mentality. So it is better from my preliminary testing to farm at the highest floor possible. But the question is, what is the highest floor possible and what is the correct comp for us to farm here on Dimension 1? Before that, we will just show off once more how you can manipulate the Blacksmith to get all the accessories or items that you might want. So I've used a Soul Junkie, I've entered the dungeon, and then we've just exited straight away. What this does is it resets the blacksmith shop here, and as you can see, we now have lucky clovers to buy, so we'll start picking up a few in case I do run Dark Mages. And the way it works is the blacksmith has a chance to have items from any of the drops within the level range. So for instance, if you quit out on 90, he'll have any of the drops from 80 to 90, since that is, you know, the throne room. And this also works above 100, so for instance, that is when rares can start occurring. So from 100 onwards, where a Skullblade can drop, for instance, the shop has a chance to offer a Skullblade. And using a Soul Junkie, you can quickly enter and exit, and therefore refresh the shop any number of times you want until you find the items you're looking for. Other than the Lucky Clover and the Gold Shield and potentially Skullblades, I don't think I've found any other real items of worth to reset for. I think the Magic Ring potentially, but it doesn't have a great amount of use. We don't need the extra mana, and it's not really a huge damage increase. We'll also see if we can get a Gold Shield drop. I do notice that the Gold Shields are a bit harder to get than the Lucky Clovers, and I think the reason for that is the Blacksmith shop still uses their drop rates. So depending on an item's drop rate is how common they'll show up here in the shop or how often you need to reset. So other than that, what is our first course of action? Well, we need to get, you know, to the higher floors. So we'll grab our comp, which will most likely be 5 Mystics and 1 Thief. The Thief is there to make sure we open all of the boss chests so that we have the greatest chance at boss gold, since boss gold is significantly higher. Well, actually, I should say chest gold. Chest gold is significantly higher than any of the gold drops from the enemies or bosses within the dungeon. So we want all 3 chests, and then of course Mystics just because they have the regen and they have an AoE cast, so we can get as far as possible until our HP runs out usually, or our damage is, you know, negligible compared to the enemies, because we are in Dimension 1, so there will be an eventual cap. And then Frying Pans just for the extra resources, because we need them for the later strats of using the chef to level people up. So I will do from 100 till we get as far as possible. I do know that we want Skullblades. Skullblades really help out with the mini-bosses and bosses in terms of farming and speed, so hopefully we get a few, and then we can do some testing on the correct levels to farm gold here on Dimension 1. Right, 120. We did lose 2 people to the mini-boss, 1 and then 1 to the boss here. So that is a bit of a worry, because it does really hurt our farming, especially gold-wise. Each person is, I believe, 39% extra gold. So right there, we're losing, you know, close to 80% of our gold gain, which does amount up, because 10% would be 120 times by 8, and this would almost be 2k a chest. But yeah, so I will quit out, and then I will probably manually farm as far as possible. I think that was also the issue. I turned auto on, and we really need to cast on the 2 enemy rooms, because we just don't have enough damage. And then we are looking for Skullblade still, to run on. Alright, manual. Hits, and then on the 2 enemy rooms I got cast. I really wish you could change the default. It would make the speed run especially a lot more casual friendly. I'd probably be more willing to do it in one sitting. But no, we'll stick to segmented for now, unless, you know, I can get the time down quite a bit. Oh, I can't tell it. That was bad. I thought it was a 3 enemy room. It's not, because I can obviously flick on auto on and off if I remember the actual enemy positions. Hopefully this is still 4 hits. Yeah, thank God. Okay, auto, and I'll come back again when we get as high as possible. Well, this was definitely less than successful. I wonder if 1 hit? No, so I lost people all throughout that little bracket. I guess these skull blades really do make a difference. Have I upgraded frying pans? Because that could also be the issue. No, okay. So the extra damage from upgrading the frying pans is also probably worth it. So we need 3, 10, 20. And then times it by 4, because I have 4 and I was not thinking about that. So 12 is the small number, right? And then 30 times 4 is also 12. So 132. There we go. We got there in the end. Oh, but you don't have enough. That's fine. So level up the frying pans, because each level is 2 damage, and hopefully that is enough of a difference to actually continue farming. Also, I haven't gotten 6 frying pans. I usually farm 6. If we're swapping out with skull blades, I don't know if it's worth farming them. Again, it is still a lot more resources, which would be great. Well, that was only slightly better. Bit tougher to farm. I think maybe I need to just farm earlier levels till I actually get skull blade, and then go for progression. I don't know. I didn't manually play again, because the damage was actually quite good. We're now doing 21 with the frying pan, which is equivalent to our cast damage, and then back attacks are even better. So, thought we could just melee. We'll upgrade the final one. Ooh. Just needed 20, didn't I? Yes, perfect. Okay, I'm going to continue slogging along, I guess. Right, first skull blade, which is good. Should make the mini bosses and the bosses a lot easier. It is a lot of damage using Skull Bash. Make sure we do level it up too. So 1, 2, 3, and 30. There we go. Cool. And we are on to 140. So I personally think this is the best bracket for the Mystics. I need to do some more testing further. And then there is also the question of whether or not we want to run Dark Mages, because the Dark Mage AoE damage is also higher, so we can farm later or further than what we can do with the Mystics. The only issue with the Dark Mages is they don't have mana regen, so it is limited how far we can run, and also we would need to go get a magic ring to ensure that we can farm. Well, do you need a magic ring? I guess if you did, say, 10 floors, you could use a Dark Mage. But anyway, that's why we're here. There's testing to be done. Okay, so this is the first question to answer. Can we even do 160 onwards with Mystics? So as long as we can clear in 5 casts, because that's how many Mystics we have, then we can clear the floors. If we're not clearing in 5 casts, that means we're taking damage, and that means we will eventually die, because, well, obviously, we take damage. Bit of a roundabout sentence. Yeah, so no, they're 1 hit away. Okay, so they're 1 hit away, so with the Dark Mage we can probably clear 160 onwards, but with 5 Mystics our cap is 140 to, well, 160, but not 160 onwards. 161. Okay, so that's fine. It means we can move on to testing gold, and then hopefully get enough gold to actually unlock the Dark Mages. We did also get another Skull Blade, so that also makes farming a lot more easier. Again, it's not the rooms that are the issue, it is the mini-boss and the boss being able to damage us. So we need a higher amount of single target damage while we have plenty of AoE damage at the moment. And look at that, you've got a third one for us. Did I really want to spend the gold? 6 and then 60. Do we have the gold? Yeah. Good. I should probably hire first. I don't want to obviously lock myself out of getting the comp I want, because it will rack up resetting 100 gold with 1 Mystic, with 3, and then becomes 260. So we spent a bit of a grand and a half, maybe, just hiring. So you do need to also make sure to keep a buffer if you're doing farm runs like this. Okay, testing-wise, we will go to 150 since this is the upper bracket. And I want to get to 159. That's going to be the best bet to see the consistent gold, since the boss is then gold that drops. So we want to compare the time it takes to get to 159 and the amount of gold we've gotten. We'll be a little bit inconsistent because of portals and ambushes, but it should give us a rough idea of what is the best bracket to farm. Right, quickly before it ticks away, we got 3.9132, so 3,900 divided by 60, 92 seconds. We're getting roughly 42 gold a second. Then we want to obviously progress down and see if we get gold quicker at the lower floors. Pretty sure, again, high floors are better, but the question is how high of the floors. Right, and then we've got 139. So, did we beat the time? No, it should be about the same. So 3.7 to 132 again, which obviously straight away tells us that we're getting less gold. The reason for that is obviously it's taking us exactly the same amount of time to clear in terms of cast. So this was a bit of a bust, but it's definitely better in this sense to farm at that later bracket. So we need to find the floors where we can clear a little bit quicker. Right, 119, that should do it. Perfect. So 2.5, 106. So 66. 2500 divided by 66 gets us 37 gold a second. So not better here either. And coincidentally, all of the testing, they all had that one portal offered. Sorry, I say that, you guys couldn't see. They all had one portal offered, meaning they were exactly the same amount of floors. Maybe not the same amount of enemies, because it does make a slight difference. But all in all, it's probably, again, better to farm at that later floor. Which is good, because now we know it's proven, so we can stick to that mentality. I do want to farm up enough gold so we can unlock the Dark Mages and try to get a little bit higher and see where we can utilize them, and then obviously compare the gold differences. Right, so we've got enough gold, and we should have a decent buffer, so now we can stick a Dark Mage in slot 1. First issue though, 30 mana. So Noxen costs 4, and if we're using it 10 times, because there's 10 rooms, no good. Though you can discount room 1, room 5, and room 10. So that brings it down to 28. Yes? Okay, but that means we can't use Skull Bash on any of these bosses, which kind of makes equipment a little bit of an issue, especially if we're hiring them first. So that is a bit of a negative, because it means in terms of the speed run, we will be really bogged down, if you will, having to manually either rechange positions or, you know, tweak equipment, because the Skullblade will auto-equip to the Dark Mage. That's it. 160. We should most definitely have enough damage now to do it. Okay, so Noxen, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 more casts, and hopefully this is cleared. That's what we want to see. So technically we'd like to see it without the poison damage. So I don't know if I'll tweak this time. It shouldn't, because it ticked on, I believe, this person. So 6 would be at the end of this person. They should hopefully die before the poison tick. Okay, so the elite enemies do survive. So that is a bit of a worry. But we will still conduct our testing. We can always run a second Dark Mage if need be. Oh, I did not use Skull Bash. So unfortunately we did end up losing someone. But 129 and 34. So we are speeding up. We do also have more levels on the Dark Mages, sorry, not Dark Mages, Mystics, and also the Skullblades, so that's why the room speed is a bit quicker, but we'll do the math. So 3,400 divided by, what did I say, 29, right? So make it 89, gets us to 38 gold a second. Obviously losing the Mystic at the end there does really hurt. It is, again, a decent chunk of gold. So I'm going to run an extra Dark Mage, and hopefully that should be enough to take our damage across the line, so we can actually deal with the elites on that 160 to 180 bracket of rooms. Right. Oh, one attack through. And a few misquicks. We'll knock off, I don't know, 3 seconds. So 5,000 divided by 123, roughly, which is, 83. 5,000 divided by 83. We should have a much decent bracket here. So 60 gold a second. So the Dark Mages do work. The big issue, though, is A, we're no longer getting experience on 2 Mystics, which does hurt the overall run, since our main goal here in Dimension 1 is also to get the Mystics to 25. And then we also have the problem of having to grind up 25k to unlock the Dark Mages. So that 25k, well, it does amount, because if we're getting 5k in a minute, then that is a good 5 minutes gone trying to just unlock the Dark Mages before we can actually farm gold at the highest rate possible. So, that begs the question. Is it better to run the Dark Mages? Will the gold make up enough time? Or do we just run the Mystic Thief comp and then do the lower bracket of 140 to 160? Right, so retested, 37, 118. 118. So we are speeding up again on those Mystics. So 3,700 divided by 78 gets us 47 gold a second with the Mystic comp versus that 60 gold a second with the Dark Mage comp. So, rationalizing it, this means that to get 200k, which is my goal for the run for Dimension 1, to get all the unlocks we want, we would take 56 minutes with the Dark Mages versus 70 minutes with the Mystics. So that 5 minutes it would take to get the Dark Mages is well worth it in the later farming. Which then leads to the next question. Is 161 to 180 the best bracket for the Dark Mages, or do we take it further? And then do we also try to get more clovers and really maximize our gold gain to, a higher standard? So then that begs the question, what is the highest bracket we can do with Dark Mages? And do we want to use a full comp of Dark Mages and just leave the Mystic leveling to when we have the Chef? How much time can we save with the most optimal gold farming group at this stage? Right, so we're going to do it at 38 instead of 39 this one. So quickly, 6, 7, 1, 2, 8. So 88 and 6,700 gets us a rate of 76 gold per second. Obviously, we get more gold from 39, but as you can see, I'm out of mana because you can't use Skull Blash on any of the mini-bosses, which is a bit of worry, because this should theoretically be the highest we can clear with the Dark Mages. As you may have saw in the previous room, one of the knights survived, so without poison damage, we can't clear in 5 hits, meaning that we definitely can't do 240 onwards. So there is a substantial increase in gold. It's a rate of about 40 minutes to get our 200k with Dark Mages, and that's not including gold from the bosses. But survivability is a big issue here, and losing anyone really hurts our gold gain. I don't know if we can actually do bosses with the Dark Mages. So overall, if you factor in boss gold, I'm going to say the Mystics are still the better group to run. And then you also have the factor of experience. So we cut out a large chunk of time leveling up the Mystics over the Dark Mages. So yeah, higher is better. Definitely more gold per second. That's the metric we're using. But it's probably not worth it in the speedrun. It's also nice to know the upper limit of what we can actually farm. So I think in the end, from all the testing, the best course of action is to run 5 Mystics, 1 Thief, and then to run, I think, what was it? It was 140 to 160 was our best bracket with the Mystics. I could swap in 1 Dark Mage and do a 160 to 170, 180, sorry. But I think also running 140, the resource drops you get from all the vegetable people is significantly more worth than anything else in terms of drops, because it is, a bunch of stuff you can use for the chefs to then power level the remaining levels we need on the Mystic and the Nurse, because again, the ultimate goal of Dimension 1 is to get both the Mystic and Nurse to 25, because they are the main core needed to actually progress through the other dimensions in a relatively quick speed, making use of the magic clock. So, all in all, good to go. I can start doing runs again using our new method, which of course will be unlock Mystics, get our items, and then use Mystics to grind 200k, unlock the Chef, unlock all the different upgrades I want, and then power level the Nurse and Mystics using the Chef. So, Dimension 1 should still probably take the longest out of all, but hopefully we can get under 20 hours this time. Hope you enjoyed.